May 3rd, another
Alexa, stop.
in Dulce. And I'm going to introduce our host, Christian Cano.
Well, thank you so much. I realized I put my contacts on, so I've got contacts over glasses. Maybe that's why we're having so many difficulties, because I can't see what I'm supposed to be seeing. Welcome, everyone, to Coffee and Pondusi. I'm Christian Cano. Thank you, Jenny, for introducing us. Mama Ruth should be joining us any moment now. And I want to thank everyone. Today is May the 23rd. In case you're checking, we are almost finished with May. And we are beginning the unofficial beginning of summer starts this weekend. It's Memorial Day weekend here all across the United States. So welcome, everyone. And here in Charlotte, it is cloudy and rainy. We had a terrible thunderstorm last night. Thank all of our guests who are joining us. And as we normally do, we're going to go around the panel, introduce yourself and introduce your imaginary button. I'm going to get Facebook up as well. We're live right now. Thank you for joining us on Facebook Live, but also those who will be joining us on YouTube later and on Facebook as well. So let's go around. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Good morning. My name is Barbara Bacon. I'm a healthcare advocate here in Charlotte, and I'm also Medicare for All.
Great.
I've come out from behind my mask. I'm George Bohmfalk, a retired physician, and my primary advocacy is Medicare for All and a bunch of other good things. So welcome.
Great.
Thank you, Dr. B. And I believe next would be Jenny.
Jenny. Hi, I'm Jenny-Jaymes Gunn. I am a advocate and coordinator for Charlotte Pride and Charlotte Trans Pride and our Real Out Film Festival. I'm also on the board for National Organization of Women. I support gun sense laws with Moms Demand Action. And of course, the most important one right now and for the future is Medicare for All. COVID actually highlights even more the need, a national utilitarian need for having that for everybody.
Excellent. And we have a special guest joining us from, technically, are you in South Carolina?
Yes, TGK on Lake Wiley.
Well, welcome, South Carolina. Please introduce yourself.
Okay. My name's Linda Dyer Hart, and I'm the executive director and founder of the Charlotte St. Patrick's Day Parade and Charlotte Goes Green Festival. And this is my husband, Frank.
Frank.
Hello, Frank. How are you? Welcome. Listen, I'm so glad you're on today because we have actually talked about your festival and your parade on this show.
My ears were ringing.
Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us. I do want to tell you that I apologize, we're having a little bit technical difficulties. So if you do have a problem watching this on Facebook, even though it does show we're doing well, you can watch us later on YouTube, and you can also watch us on Facebook as well.
Great.
So I'm Christian Cano, one of your co-hosts, along with Jenny, Barb, and Mama Ruth, who I hope is joining us today. Jeff Scott, our wonderful libertarian co-host, is on hiatus, I believe, for just 2 more weeks, and so he'll be back telling us about You're Not the Boss of Me stuff. In case you don't know, we have changed the name for Baby Trump Pinata, who is watching us. He's been watching us since we went virtual. His new name is You're Not the Boss of Me. So that is Baby Trump Pinata, and he has been sitting here watching us. He's wearing a Medicare for All button. He's wearing a Mom for Demand Action button. He's still passing out Cynthia Wallace for Congress campaign palm cards. So thank you, Baby Trump Pinata. And I believe I've given 2 of those Trump toilet scrubbers away. I only have 1 more left, and he's holding on to the Trump toilet scrubber. So I'm looking at Facebook now, and I apologize, I'm completely out of sync. In the square in Facebook, you have Baby Trump Pinata, we have Linda Hart's, the Hearts, and then we have Barbara, Jenny, myself, and Dr. B. So that's kind of the way the square looks if you watch the Brady Bunch. Now, we want to talk about 2 issues today. We want to talk about, are we ready for summer? We also want, go ahead. Oh, thank you, Jenny. I have forgotten that every time we're in virtual, we need a salute to coffee and Pondusi. If you have your cup of coffee, if you have a cup, please salute to coffee and Pondusi to your neighbors. Thank you. I'm actually drinking coffee today because we are starting our holiday weekend an hour after the show, and we have about a 2-hour drive to go camping. So I am,
You're brave.
I need coffee.
Brave.
Well, you know, it's our way of social distancing. We're not going to be around anyone. So speaking of social distancing, we also have some questions for Dr. B that we've seen pop up over the last week. So once again, let's talk about summer, and we'll go around in 30 seconds. And don't forget, y'all, I have the bell.
Okay.
So in 30 seconds, let's go around and tell us, do you think we're ready for the summer? Who'd like to start?
Why don't you appoint us?
Oh, okay. Let's go with the hearts. Barbara, Jenny, and then Dr. B. How's that?
Okay, you want to start? Frank?
How I see this summer, unfortunately, is most of the events getting canceled. There's still too much indecision out there. People, I mean, you see it changes every day. And I don't think anyone wants to be responsible for a large group, you know, the problems that ensues. So unfortunately, like for St. Patrick's Day, we're, you know, it's over for us for this year. And we start looking at next year. But you don't even know what the rules are right now.
Yeah.
So there's just too much up in the air.
And most events take about a year to plan. So that's the biggest problem. You can't just put it together in a month or two. And I think with, you know, I think with the masks, like I'm, you know, wearing masks, I do social distancing. I think people are getting more comfortable that there will be people that just because want to travel, want to see friends, that will travel, that will get on the airplane. I think that's starting to increase, but they have to wear a mask. It's just absolutely. I mean, when I see someone that doesn't have one on, I just immediately say something.
Join the group. Barbara.
Locally, everyone that I know has canceled all of their vacation plans. If they're going to go anywhere, it's going to be someplace where they can drive as a
Right.
family or as a couple. My family has 2 gatherings up in Illinois. Then I said, I'm not getting on an airplane and I'm not driving that far. So, and I know my friends that have children, 2 of them are sending their kids to camp if there's going to be camp.
Mm-hmm.
The other one, no way is she going to do that. So I can't imagine. I've talked to a couple of the Friday morning guys from Ed Drake's meeting.
Are they still doing that, Barbara?
They're doing it virtual as well.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So just in case people don't understand, what is the Friday morning? It's
Our city councilman, Ed Drake,
Edric's.
has a coffee meeting. Well, he had one every Friday morning from 7:30 to 8:30. Anyone that wanted to show up. He is a Republican, but it is not a political meeting. He's teaching all of us about what's going on in Charlotte. And it's a great meeting because I've never known anything about city government. But because of the virus, now we're virtual again. And but a lot of congressmen, senators, local people come to those meetings. So you find out a little bit of everything, but it's
Sure.
really an informative meeting. Yeah.
Okay. And Jenny?
Well, at Charlotte Pride, we canceled our Pride in August about a month ago. And we'd already canceled three other events before that. We canceled our Interpose thing in March, which was an international thing that we were going to have a meeting of Pride leaders from all over the world right here in Charlotte. Our visibility, which is March 31st. And then we moved our film festival Real Out. It's the last week of October, beginning October 24th. I agree with Linda. When you put on a large event like the St. Patrick's Day Parade or Charlotte Pride, not only do you take a massive amount of space, but it takes a lot of coordination, cooperation, and you also have, right? You know, for us, we're a nonprofit. We're dependent on our, you know, to ask them to help us and send employees down there and gather 200,000. At this point, it's inconceivable. It's hard to believe, much less have it in 2020. It would be irresponsible for us to do so.
Okay. And Dr. B?
Yeah, we have a son here in Charlotte and his family, and another son, our other son, out in Western Colorado. Typically, about this time every year, when the snow starts to melt out there, we head west and look forward to just wonderful summers in Western Colorado. Well, that's probably off for this year. We're reluctant to get on an airplane. They've canceled most of the wonderful events that go on out there, like the Aspen Music Festival and the Aspen Ideas Festival, and just all sorts of things that we normally look forward to. Now you can still go hiking and camping, and that's a great activity too. But the big issue is getting out there, and then the issue is what happens if you get sick out there. And of course, the medical facilities in Western Colorado, although are wonderful for normal circumstances, like skiing injuries, they're probably not so great if you need to be on a ventilator. And so we're just kind of looking at that day by day, but thinking that's probably off for the summer. Very interesting. I read, there's polls all the time. And there was, I'll turn down this noise outside in a second. In fact, I have to now. 1 second.
Okay.
Hello?
There we go. So I'm using my brand new anniversary present I got last night, my wireless earbud.
Oh, yes.
So I'm no longer tied to a cord, you see. I'm experimenting with those this morning. Moving into the modern world. So interesting little study that I saw yesterday. They surveyed people about your attitudes and what to do this summer. And, we're all aware that there's, to a degree, been kind of a partisan divide on how we view the epidemic and whether or not we really need to shut down everything or not. It was interesting that almost exactly the same numbers of self-identified conservatives and liberals, about 25% are the only ones that said they'd be willing to get on an airplane. So this talked about, are you willing to go out to dinner? Are you willing to? And it's amazing that that we seem to feel the same anxiety across partisan lines about getting on an airplane. And I was interested in a lot of respects of that.
Sure.
So anyway, we're probably going to be kind of sitting tight around here and see how things go.
Excellent. Well, listen, it's interesting you say that, Dr. B, and thank you for bringing that up, and welcome to the modern world for those of us who are still connected to wires and cables, and now that you've shamed us all. Listen, I do want to compliment your hair once again, because we have something very special that's going to happen on this show in a little bit. So I want to compliment your hair. I've been telling everybody what great hair you have. So listen, I do want to say that before this gets past us, when I said about a month ago, or even maybe 6-8 weeks ago, I wanted to thank the Harts from the bottom of my heart, because I don't know what went into the canceling, whether, and that's the organizational thing who makes it. And I'm sure it was a very, very difficult decision to make, because you guys put on one of the best festivals and parades here.
Oh, thank you.
In Charlotte. I've always told
Well, you've been a part of it too.
Yes, I have. And I've always told people, especially if you're running for office, that's the place to be. Yeah. You've got all these people happy.
Well, the hardest part was the day we canceled was the first day that they had 2 people who had the virus, who were detected with having the virus. So with 2 days in front of the event, we find that out and have to make a decision. And you're thinking to yourself, that's only 2 people, and you've got thousands involved with the production of the parade and festival and everything. So and it was like, that stuff can't be moving that fast. There's only 2 people in the whole United States.
And the day before it was a go. The city's like, yep, so everything was so fluid and happening, and it still is. It's so unknown.
And what I wanted to say is I want to thank y'all from the bottom of my heart, and I'm sure many neighbors in Charlotte, Mecklenburg, and those who would have traveled here. Because of what you did, you may have saved so many people because of canceling that. So I know that was a very painful decision, and I want to thank you. I want you to know that there are people that recognize the rational, responsible adult leadership that you showed, because I know that's a hard thing to do, but it has saved so many people, because I would have gone to that festival and I could have been asymptomatic, as we have learned over this time period. So thank you so much for what you've done. So if anything, I want to thank you. And next year, let's make sure that we make it bigger and better. Let's
Yes.
whatever we can do to help, just as we want to do Pride as well. So with that said, I do want to remind everyone that the president of our country told us back the Friday before you canceled this event, I think it was on the 15th or the 14th. I may have my days.
We canceled on the 12th.
The 12th. Okay.
Right.
So the president on that Friday before said that this is all going to go away when it gets warm. And I just want to remind you that we are beginning summer, or the unofficial beginning, and it is not over. So the question I have with Dr. B, is this going over? Is this going to end as it gets warm? Because maybe he meant warm like 100 degrees. I'm not sure what he meant.
Well, if anything, I think what we've learned in this is essentially ignore anything Trump says, right? I mean, I'm loving these TikTok things that these ladies are lip syncing. Literally, I mean, it's not just his words; it's recordings of him saying these things, and they're putting them, you know, like drunk ladies in bars and things like that. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. So no, I mean, all these preposterous things he said. Who knows if he's taking hydroxychloroquine or not? I mean, it's totally conceivable that he's just doing that to mess with everybody's kind of head, right? And so I have quit being upset by things that our eminent president, you know, says. Most of all, it just doesn't make sense, and it just upsets you. So it doesn't mean anything. I mean, he says things and counters them the next day. So is the virus kind of going away as he assured everyone that it would? Well, there's no sign of that whatsoever. But I'll repeat what I said on every previous episode.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. This is a new disease, a new ball game. We don't know the rules, how this virus is playing. We're just going to all have to kind of see together. I mean, as any of you who've been following the previous epidemics with the SARS and the H1N1, things like that, sometimes they think, oh, it's going to be terrible, and nothing happens. And other times, like the one 100 years ago, the Spanish flu, or not, the Iowa flu, as I think they're finding out where it actually started, you know, that came back with a vengeance. So we just don't know. But no, certainly it's not a time to get very casual and cavalier and careless about it. We need to still be very mindful. I don't know. My wife and I were talking last night. It seems that every 2 weeks we keep saying, oh, the next 2 weeks are going to be very telling and we're going to find out a lot. And now we're saying, well, with these states that are opening up, we're going to find out, you know, how horrible that is. And we're going to find out from the Swedish experience. Oh, were they stupid or were they smart? But somehow this just kind of keeps this rolling uncertainty, which is maddening, right? But that's where we are. So, yeah.
It is. And Dr. B, in a second, I have a question about this article that I read this week about a doctor. He's a neurosurgeon, and you are a retired neurosurgeon. So I figure maybe you may be, you may have a comment. And I'll tell you the article that I read, and also about kids wearing face masks. I had a huge texting war with my niece, who has a 3-year-old, who texted a picture of her in Tampa with my nephew without a mask, having 2 ice cream cones. And the first thing we all said was, "Where's his mask?" So I have a question about that. Jenny, I know you're very involved in Pride, and I know that, you know, who cares about what the biggest festival is? They're all wonderful festivals in our city. Pride, the St. Patrick's Day Festival, the Green, Charlotte Goes Green, the NASCAR Festival that I guess would have gone on this weekend. Probably would have gone on yesterday with this NASCAR weekend. Pride? I know that was a hard decision for y'all. What's going on with that?
Well, we've pivoted completely to a virtual world and a virtual Pride. We did our film festival beginning May 7th. We did 4 days of online films, and then we began this last Monday a spring spotlight week of entertainment. In fact, it concludes tonight. It's completely free. It's on Facebook. You can see it. You can view the other episodes from earlier in the week, including the comedy show that I was in. And so we realize that we have to change. We have to adapt.
Yeah.
You know, kudos to St. Patrick's Day Parade organizers for being the first adopter and making a very typical. This is like with us in Charlotte Pride, you know, it because it's so tied to who we are. You know, whether you're involved. It's a painful decision. It's the right call. It's the only ethical. because like Dr. B says, we really don't understand this enough. That's the biggest point is let's mask up when in doubt. And I'll use the most telling example, and I just read this today. They compared Hong Kong to New York City. They're almost size population. They're within a few 100,000 of each other. New York City, as of right now, has had a little over 28,000 deaths this year. Hong Kong has had 4.
Wow.
I didn't say 4.
Yeah.
4 total.
Yeah.
And that they mask up, they respect social distancing, and they understand about contagions. That is a stark difference. Think about if we had adopted and we had taken this serious back in January when we knew about this. There's 8,000 people still walking around New York City today.
Yeah. Well, you know, what you said, Jenny, was exactly correct. And I have thought about this too, because right before Hearts, right before you canceled at that point postponed the St. Patrick's Day in Charlotte Goes Green, a lot of us were watching, and we knew if you were going on, it would have been hard to ask others to stop as well, because they would have said, see, they did it, you know, and so forth. And because you did, I think it made it easier for Petapalooza, for Pride, for a lot of other groups to kind of make that decision. They were waiting for like the first one to have the bravery to actually do it. And as we have talked about before, the Mardi Gras, I think, Dr. B, I don't know if you can speak to this, but one of the reasons they had such a big outbreak is because they had Mardi Gras.
Right.
And I understand they didn't really know what was happening at the time, but many people, you know, were contacted. So speaking of that, I do have a question, Dr. B. As I mentioned, my niece, and I didn't want to throw her under the bus because she watches this show from Tampa. What she said was time getting the mask on my nephew. So she said, oh, I don't want to deal with it. So how important it is for, and then so I Googled, you know, should kids wear masks? And it said, CDC says 2 or over. I'm correct. Why is it important for them also to wear masks?
Well, a couple of things. There's the practical aspect that it's almost impossible to keep something like this on, you know, children that don't understand instructions. So under 2, I would say you're you know, driving yourself crazy, kind of trying to get a kid to keep a mask on. As far as the older ones, we all have heard that this doesn't affect children all that much, and it's mainly a older age group that are affected by this. But I think there's more and more recognition that children can certainly have it and be contagious and not realize it, not have any symptoms. So I think that's the reason. You just never know. You pretty much have to assume that everyone has it, even though they don't know it, may never know it if they don't get an antibody test. And so that, in my understanding, is the rationale for having kids wear masks, even though they're not the main ones that come down with the disease. And of course, I would think any parent of a young child would be absolutely terrified with these stories about this Kawasaki-like syndrome that's affecting a bunch of the children. It's like, you're going to run that risk. So, yeah, I think that's the rationale.
I wish we had an auto loop that we could just play what you just said, and I could send that to my niece, because she's very responsible. But
Sure.
Of course, we're probably all helicopter, what do they call it? Helicopter aunts and uncles. And we were like, instead of, oh, he looks cute, where's the face covering? So Barbara, you live here over on our side of the hood, and have you been out lately? Have you been watching people? I went to Costco Thursday. I had to make an emergency run for this camping trip because I try to only get out, like, if I can, once a week. And I went to Walmart as well on Pineville Matthews, around the corner from you. What are you seeing out there?
Well, I have a house project I'm working on, and I had to go to Home Depot. So I walk in the door, and I only go in with my credit card. I have a bottle of hand sanitizer in my pocket, and I knew exactly what I wanted. So I went, and I'm like, and you have to clean your own cart. So I push my cart in, and there's all these, I call them the construction guys, you know, and I thought I waited long enough for them to clear out. They were everywhere, nobody's social distancing. So I go all the way around the store. I only saw 2 people with masks on. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. And as I'm waiting in line, this guy was like standing right next to me. I said, "Excuse me, could you move away?" And he just stood there. So I thought, okay, maybe he doesn't understand English. Well, then they opened up the self-checkout and I just went to self-checkout. I was freaking out because I thought, even the employees didn't have masks on. I'm like,
That's terrible.
I was shocked, but I'm never going in there again. I just couldn't handle it. And people
Well, I could tell you.
looking at me and like, you don't need a mask. I'm like, I'm wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And
I kind of had that experience at one store. I won't name the store because I'm trying not to shame. I'm just trying to like thank people who actually are, trying to like the reverse psychology kind of thing that I used to do with my brothers when we raised them. It was like, because we are dealing with, and I do like, I'm not sure who posted it. It may have been you, Linda. I'm not exactly sure who posted it, but someone said they went out and if you're under 30, you probably are stupid. And if you're over 30, you're a Trump supporter, or if you're not wearing a mask, whatever. Because I do believe that a lot of younger people they're just like,
yeah, they
I don't
think
get it. Yeah. And so I was so proud when I went to Costco and I came out, everyone was wearing a mask. And I had read that article where that person had been asked to leave Costco because he was trying to prove a point. And I walked out and I was like, I remember after 9/11 when our country came together and we all did whatever we needed to do to get our country, to heal our country. And I thought, can you imagine what it would have been like had we had a president who was semi-normal, who would have used this opportunity to bring us together and to have said, wear masks with American flags on it, thank your military, thank your police officers, and made this a patriotic thing. Because I was so proud because we, not just Americans, as human beings, we naturally want to help each other.
Okay.
And I do believe that the majority of us are responsible, rational. We understand that things that we can do. There are always going to be the you're not the boss of me people. They were that way after 9/11. They're always that way in both parties. It's not specifically for one party. There's always that. But I think one of the things I've tried to share with my nieces is when we have that crazy uncle in your family or the crazy aunt, don't use this mask episode to determine if they're crazy. Just look to see other things they don't like. They don't like anything, whether it's Black people, whether it's Hispanics, whether it's gay people, whether it's whatever. They just don't like anybody. So I think you have to use your own judgment and go, you just don't like anybody. So you are crazy, so because no, I mean, if you look at the people on social media and you look at the people that are doing this, I have a right, and you look at some of their stuff, everything they don't like. So you almost want to say, my goodness gracious, what? So I think we have to put them in a special category.
And they're finding a conspiracy in all of this. That's, and I think our president, by setting a bad example of not wearing a mask, encourages his supporters to think, well, he's not, we don't have to. And then it becomes political.
Yeah.
I think it's a cultural thing because literally if you look at Hong Kong, for example, and I use the Hong Kong example because it's so appropriate. In Hong Kong, if you walk down the street without a mask on, you are looked at like you are running down the street naked. Like
Right.
It's not culturally acceptable, and you'll probably get arrested there. And they deem it as duty and honor. Like most Asian countries, they're very mindful of their neighbors. They're very mindful of others. And our country, our rugged individualism got us through a lot of things, supposedly. But this is not, me myself. This is, if you want to honor your country, mask up. If you want to honor thy neighbor, do the Christian thing, mask up. There's no excuse not to wear a mask.
And it's showing respect for other people by wearing it.
Exactly.
It's disrespectful not to, I think.
Not realizing what that means. It annoys me, but I wear myself out getting annoyed with everybody. So I'm not going to do it anymore. I don't get it.
PBS is running a documentary over in Italy, and it goes along with one of the ladies, nurses, I think she was. And you watch that show, and I came into Linden, and it's like, please don't let this happen to us.
Or in Brazil, where they're
Because if-
digging 8,000 graves.
Oh, I know.
You know,
Yeah.
it's you can
Well-
have some fun with the mask and everything, but the reality is when you have 8,000 graves getting ready in Brazil to be pushed into, it's just it's horrible.
Well, I have always said that I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed that all of the pro-life people are not, hair's not on fire about the amount of lives that we have lost.
Right.
Good point.
And it is just, when you look at the numbers and you look at and I know that it's hard to kind of, I don't know if you remember after 9/11, they started like reading the names of the people and showing the
Mhm.
pictures because it brought
Yeah.
like the face to it.
Mhm.
I think we almost need to do that. Some of the stations need to like do PSAs periodically and just roll the
Most
names and faces
Sunday
of the
morning
people.
programs do that, like they did
Okay.
when the wars were on and they show
Yeah.
their names. They're doing
Exactly.
that. I think that's great.
And I mean, that it's 80, I don't know, what's it, 86, 80, 90,000 people now that have
Yeah.
that have died, unfortunately, to this. And I want to ask Dr. B before time gets past us. Dr. B, I read an article. I don't know, it was Business Insider or I watch CNN. I've always watched CNN, but I do try to like mix it up with other things so I can get more of a balanced, kind of point of view. I even watch Fox. I don't watch Fox, but I listen to the Fox stuff all the time because it's more, just to see the perspective that they're coming from. Yeah, they're coming from. So apparently there was a neurosurgeon that wrote an op-ed. I don't know if it was in the Washington Post or USA Today or something, and he talked about how, I don't know if it was about masks or something. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Okay, you want to comment on that?
Yeah. I hadn't seen it before until you pointed it out to me, and I think you were shocked that a board certified neurosurgeon would say the things he did. Well, in every group, right, there's going to be some folks that are going to be kind of bucking the stream, right, and seeing things differently. So, this is an example. Back where I practiced in Texas, there was a very well-respected oral surgeon dentist who came out against water fluoridation. And, this again is one of those things where most scientists believe that having a little fluoride is good to prevent cavities. Well, here's a dentist that was saying, no, he got into this whole thing about, is it a conspiracy and does it have all these terrible side effects? So the point being that you can have otherwise perfectly reasonable, intelligent professionals who have different opinions. Linus Pauling was a Nobel Prize winner, back in the 40s or 50s or something. He did great, fabulous science, and I can't remember exactly what he came up with now, but it was earth-changing and a very credible science. And he came up with this thing about vitamin C will prevent the common cold. And he took that to his grave, even though there was never any substantiation of that. Now we hear people saying enough vitamin C will boost your immune system and prevent getting from the COVID virus, and it's wishful thinking. So this neurosurgeon that you mentioned, I don't want to publicize much more about him, but in case people come across it, his name is Dr. Blaylock, and he was on the faculty, I think, at University of Mississippi Medical Center Neurosurgery Department. He's retired now, but he's got one of these website blog kind of things, and he's full of crackpot ideas, and saying things like the mask will make you get the virus, and masks are bad for you. Everything that's just totally counter kind of what mainstream medicine kind of has to say. But we discussed a couple of weeks ago this PhD, I forget her name already, thankfully, this lady that went with this pandemic video. She's a smart lady. She's a virologist, but somehow or another, there's something different in their heads, and they just go against the stream and come out with these kind of just unacceptable kind of notions, which I think are harmful, because people say, well, there's a neurosurgeon, here's a virologist, they're saying this, maybe they're right, and maybe Fauci is making money off this thing, or some preposterous thing. So there seems to be something in the human brain that is attracted to these conspiracy theories and being a contrarian And, you know, sometimes I guess that works all right, you know. But
It's something that seems uniquely American.
I don't know. I suspect it's international. We just
Okay, well,
probably the other countries don't publicize these things. They just kind of ignore them.
they shoot them.
No, yeah. Well, for example, this guy in Marseille that came out with the first study about hydroxychloroquine. Okay, the guy with the long hair, the kind of a hippie looking guy. And initially, everybody thought, well, here's a world authority, so we got to pay attention to that. Obviously, Trump did. Well, the more that comes out, it seems that the French scientific community has kind of sidelined him for a long time. They've kind of known that he played fast and loose with some of the numbers and was a little bit of a renegade, you know, and enjoyed that kind of image. Not the most scientific. Fauci, you know, delights in kind of being boring. He doesn't want to make a big splash. He just wants, you know, just the facts, ma'am.
Yeah.
And a lot of these others, I think, go for the sensationalism, and I'm sure it's gratifying to him on some respect. So that's my take on it. You're always going to find somebody who otherwise is credible and respectable saying things that don't fit. And I would say, look into them a little bit. Almost invariably, I can't remember if it's Dr. Blaylock, but almost invariably all the others are selling something.
Yep.
Usually it's going to be unscientifically supported nutritional substances and supplements and vitamins and, you know, kind of cookie things.
Interesting you say that, Dr. B. The state attorney general in Texas, Ken Paxton is his name. He used to be a representative in the House. He represents the McKinney, Frisco, Allen, Texas area. He was one of the very big persons about the fluoride water, trying to get fluoride water out of the city of McKinney's water system. And he was passing legislation saying it was, you know, the federal government and the rights and this. Well, they did an investigation, and it turns out his wife and her friend owned a shop that sold purified water. And they were trying to sell that. And that, of course, he's actually under indictment in Texas. He's the attorney general. Almost a little wacko, just like their lieutenant governor in Texas, as Jenny may know, that person is crazy. Question, because we've got only about 15 minutes left on the show. I do want to say before this passes us, one of the things that we have talked about is leadership in this global pandemic, from the mayor's office to the county commission office and so forth. And we spent a lot of time talking about where's the mayor. We spent a lot of time talking about, you know, Trump. I don't listen to Trump. I listen to him because I know he's going to make a mistake and I get kind of a kiki out of it. But I do think that we also, and it's hard to do, but we need to thank the people that are doing, stepping up to the plate, like Commissioner Mark Jarrell, who's posting pictures, mech mask up, challenging people to do these things. Like Matt Newton, like Dr. Fauci, like some other governors, Governor Cooper, who I think is doing an incredible job, so calm and, you know, and so forth, and some Republican governors as well. So I do want to thank those people. And I just want to remind people, you know, this is a global pandemic that it's an invisible enemy, if we want to use Trump's words. It's the invisible enemy that we need to overcome. And one of the reasons why, you know, Biden made a slip or a mistake yesterday when he was talking in the Breakfast Club, and he made a statement that was considered very derogatory towards our African-American community. And when I first heard that, I was coming back from another part of North Carolina, and I heard it, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know, that. Then I realized, okay, that's how we react under normal presidents. And then I thought, well, why am I getting so upset? We went to 3.5 years of a buffoon saying things on a daily basis. And then Biden apologized. And I thought, this is what the difference is. The difference is a rational, responsible adult apologizes and says, I'm sorry. A petulant child does not. And that's what we have with Trump. He doesn't even apologize when it's like, oh, well, what happened was, you know, that's not what it really meant. And so whatever people say about Biden and Trump, if those are our two candidates, we have a libertarian candidate as well and Green Party candidate, you know, as long he's going to make mistakes, and I understand that. And do I wish he was perfect? Yes, I do. We all want people to be perfect, but at least he has the decency to apologize when he makes those kinds of mistakes. And that's really what I want in a leader. I want in a leader someone who can apologize, who can say, because that's just believe me, someone who's had to apologize for saying something completely stupid, that's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Is to say, oh, I'm sorry. Because people will make fun of you when even after you apologize, they're still going to make fun of you. So you just have to say, I apologize. And so I want to thank Biden for apologizing, because that's not something that we've seen. And that's something that like used to be normal. And so I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that in like 15 seconds, because I don't want to jump too much on politics on this show. Anybody want to comment on that?
I was trying to, but I think
Sorry.
Go ahead, Jen.
of a disaster. I mean, because we got to think of this pandemic as like a natural disaster, like a hurricane or something, an act of God. And we've politicized this thing, and to a certain extent, both sides have. And what we need to do is look at it just like 9/11, where both sides of the Congress come together and sing "God Bless America" and that. And we literally got to have every possible public figure, no matter who it is, say mask up to it nauseam, pound it in, because masks save lives. It's a proven
That's right.
fact. And we got to take the political element. I think the Democrats have to stop promoting what Trump's saying. And part of our problem is we're only railing against Trump. And that's going to be it lost us the election, and it also loses us a lot of lives. We've thinking about Trump and start leading with our solutions and saying, hey, give scientists time, we got to give doctors time to make it distributable.
Good point, Jenny. And I know our politics show in June is going to be very exciting, because we'll have some people on here that hopefully we'll get. Hey, Barbara, we need your help to get Matthew Ridenhour back on. Our highest rated show.
I was gentle in my comment. I felt bad for Abby.
I saw that.
And I only did it on the CPD neighbors. So, but because I promised some of the Friday morning guys that I would cool it. We're all be nice for 30 days, and we're not going to say anything nasty about anybody. So,
well,
I'm nasty, but I can be very direct.
Good.
Well, one of the great things about Matthew is we know him. We've had him on the show a couple of times, and at least we know there's a part of him that that swings back. I don't know. I'm not. Anyway, I do want to talk about. We only have about 10 minutes left, and I just want to let people know that I think the airlines, United Airlines, has released a new called United Safe Plus some fancy name about flying. They're requiring everyone to wear masks. They're going to do this hospitalization thing on the doodads. Hertz has filed for bankruptcy. That shows you the travel industry has hurt so badly. First of all, their cars were way too expensive, so I don't know how they filed for bankruptcy. But a lot of people are. I'm curious if they received any of the PPE loan money and then filed for bankruptcy. I wonder how that works. So.
I go through the bankruptcy court, so they're not going to get away with anything.
Yeah, with Hertz, they had a crushing amount of debt before COVID. So
that's what they're saying. Yes,
this is one of those things. It's just like 9/11. There's going to be a lot of people going to go out of business or file bankruptcy and use COVID as the excuse. But honestly, we're going downhill way before this.
Jenny, sorry to interrupt you, but that was the point I was trying to make with Matt Newton. And I watched the show 3 or 4 times after, and I realized I didn't come across, I came across as too much of a free market person. As a Democratic libertarian, I didn't understand why, as to your point, there are some small businesses, there are companies that shouldn't be in business. And I don't know how we balance that, but I was concerned about why we're not helping everyday people as much as we are small businesses and businesses, because at the end of the day, the everyday people are the ones who will spend that money with that small business and hopefully bring them up from the bottom up. Whereas this PPP thing is trying to the trickle down kind of thing. So 15 seconds, does anybody want to comment on that?
Well, and obviously giving the money to some of these multinational companies didn't help a bit. They and then they still laid off 95% of their workforce. We got 30 million
Exactly.
without jobs. And, you know, it'd be known that how many of those took money, how many of those people applied, and or how many companies applied for the money. And really, that's shame on the Congress and on the president that they didn't start with people first.
All right. Barbara, you want to comment? The Harts, you want to comment on any of that? It's hard to do this without Ruth.
It is. I was getting into listening to you and I kind of lost track of where we were.
My notion about that is that any kind of federal program is a whole lot more complicated than we all like to acknowledge. And so in a hurry to kind of get something that would be perfect and eliminate these bigger companies from applying, I think it's impossible. And so some of them were honorable and turned it down, but others think, you know, this may be our only chance, and you know, we're entitled to it. Let's kind of give it a whirl, and not necessarily devious or evil kind of intentions. So I just acknowledge that these things are enormously difficult to do. On the other hand, my understanding from what I read is that the payments to, you know, the $1,200 checks or whatever they are to individuals has pretty well worked, and most people. Not everybody, most people, you know, a huge number, I don't know what, 98% of those who was it intended for have gotten these support checks, and presumably there's going to be another round coming. So, you know, I would maybe grade the effort as a B+ or something. That by and large, it's worked reasonably well. It could have been better. It could be better going forward, but it's not like an abject failure of federal government. So I try to look at the glass half full aspect of that.
When you've
No,
got
but how do you feel about it being basically trying to buy votes down the road?
I don't think that's the case.
Well, yeah, you know, though, they just passed a bill in the House for the Democrats were leading. It was basically the same layout as before, give money away and what have you. And Trump doesn't want to sign off on that.
Yeah.
So he's going to try anything he can to, you know, to get his votes in. I mean, that's just so blatant.
well,
Well, I think it might be counterproductive.
not agreeing with him on this though, because when you've got the Federal Reserve chairman up there saying you need to do something for the little people and you need to do it now, and finally other people are starting to mimic him and agree with him. At some point, the congressmen and the senators that are rerunning are going to realize that if it's their constituents that are doing this, they're going to, but it's too late for some people.
I really, sorry to interrupt y'all, but because we're going to be running out of time here, about 6 or 7 minutes left. I really do appreciate when Jenny told us about almost a month ago, Jenny, she had reminded us that I don't know why we feel so guilty for asking for a stimulus. It's our money. We're loaning it to ourselves. It's our money. Whereas a lot of these corporations don't even pay federal taxes. So we're giving them our money. And so it makes logical sense to give stimulus checks to taxpayers than it does to me, big companies, because it's our money. We're not borrowing anything from anybody but ourselves. So Jenny, you want to comment on that 15 seconds? Because I need to switch to something else real quickly before we close.
Kudos to the state of North Carolina. They have processed over 600,000 to 700,000 applications for unemployment bills through the pandemic assistance. They normally process in that same period of time about 12,000 applications a month. And they've got over 1 million sitting on their desks, and they're almost through the entire stack, which is phenomenal. The federal government did put $600 per week in the kitty supplies that qualifies. And they've done some wonderful guidelines.
Yeah.
On it myself, you know, I applied for quarantine reasons personally, and so I qualified under it. I can tell you, they are doing a lot, and that was federal to the states. All 50 states qualify, and they've done a great.
Well, I definitely completely support adding that additional money to those who are unemployed and even those, because a lot of that can be the difference between staying in their, well, I know the apartment things and the mortgages and stuff, but just eating, those kind of things are just, it's just interesting how much I have taken stuff for granted, and what other people, anyway, I do want to say that phase 2 started at 5 p.m. yesterday. And as we talked about on Wednesday about phase 2, barbers and salons and have opened up. And at 5:05 yesterday, I was supposed to get my hair cut, but the Mandy, I'll give her a plug, could not do it because she's so overwhelmed. So before the show, I attempted to cut my hair.
Oh,
You can't
it looks
see
great.
it. You can't see it. You can't see it.
Poofy up here, yeah.
And I cut Frank's hair.
Oh, okay. Listen, I need somebody here who does that. And so I could not do it. And my hair has been, it's so thick because it's a mixture of Native American and
Yeah.
Spanish and Mexican and so forth. So it's so thick and coarse, it grows this way. And it just gets so puffy.
It's
And
great.
I have decided
Here, yeah, okay.
I'm tired.
Oh, he's doing
What?
it.
Oh, no.
I'm going before
Don't
I
do it.
travel. Look at that.
Oh, my
This time in
goodness.
8 weeks. So before we leave tomorrow, I'm gonna have a buzz cut or a cruise cut. I've looked at YouTube videos. I've done everything that I could, and this is the YouTube video. And so we will see on Wednesday's show what it looks like, because I can't wait anymore. And I know Mandy's going, "What are you doing?" But this has got to come off. It is just, it is, and I've got product trying to keep it down. So this is going to be a lot shorter. We will see what happens.
We'll have a great trip too. It sounds like a fun camping adventure.
We'll see. I'm on number 4. She usually goes down from a 1 all the way up because it's a fade.
You have one that's higher to do the top, a higher number?
I'm not going to touch the top because
Okay.
I don't know how to do that. So I'm going to stop here, which means I'm going to look like
you're gonna
maybe a
have a mohawk.
skateboarder. I may look like Trump, where the hair is going around like that. I don't know what that's going to happen.
No.
That'll be
So-
interesting.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. So,
Wait for Wednesday now.
well, before we did this, Andrew said, "You better not get no hair on the ground." So I've got a big blanket.
You can always wear a hat.
Yes.
It disguises all.
Exactly. So I want to thank y'all for joining us today. And Mama Ruth did mention that she was not able, they had some really bad storms where she lives and probably where you are as well, Jenny, because you're not far from her. And I think they're having real serious internet issues, which I hope that's what our issue was.
Yeah.
This was the first storm that we didn't have a tree down. Our neighbor has a tree down. The other people have tree downs. And all I heard was them trying to fix it. So that's a new reality with global warming and climate change, is the storms are so much
Violent, yeah.
so I want to wish everyone a wonderful and safe Memorial Day weekend. Please remember those who have fallen in the line of protecting our country in our service, which is the real reason why we celebrate Memorial Day weekend. It's to honor those who died in battle. Veterans Day weekend is for those who used to serve. So it's not the same thing. And like I said, Republicans always like to milk Memorial Day weekend, but you never hear from them on Labor Day weekend. And so that's just the way it is. Please stay safe. For those of you who are going out, practice social distancing. Please wear a mask. Mask up, MEC, I think, is the hashtag that they're using to remind people to mask up. Thank you, Dr. B, for that wonderful. Jenny is getting us the hookup for our own Coffee and Pan Dulce masks. So when we are able to join and do our shows.
Well, thank you for
Yes,
having
yes.
us. This was fun. It was great. It was interesting.
Your first time, that's right.
Yes.
Yes.
Our first
of
time on
course we
Zoom.
wanna- Yeah, well, yeah. And so, we do want you to come and join us live if you ever can here. at
We'd
Coffee
love
and
to.
Pan. I'm trying. I just got a message that my battery is about to die.
Okay.
So with that being said, go around, tell us where you're going to be this
Linda and
weekend.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, tell us where you're going to be in 15 seconds or so. And we'll go with Jenny and Dr. B. There you go.
Where we're going to be this weekend?
Guess what? I'm going to be at home this weekend, like I have for the last 60 days. We'll go out for walks, but I will be watching Charlotte Pride spring spotlight show tonight. We have two shows. We have the drag show. Then afterwards, we have a party DJ. All free, and just go to Charlotte Facebook page.
Okay.
My wife and I are going to be right here in our little apartment watching the ducklings that have hatched in the pond out behind, and a big old snapping turtle and all sorts of nature in the middle of the city. And last night we went out for dinner. It was our anniversary, so we got some steaks and cooked them and went out on our balcony and ate them. So that's what we're going to be doing.
Well, happy
And we're going to
anniversary.
be here. We're on Lake Wiley, so we're going to be kayaking. And I have a garden on the lake, so I'm going to be trying to keep that from the deer. And we're just going to be enjoying ourselves and being on the lake.
Excellent.
And I'm with her.
I'm home by myself today, and tomorrow I'm going to Arts because it's our first anniversary. I don't know what we're eating, but because he's a vegetarian, we don't have to worry about no meat. And that's what I'm going to do. Chill out.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Everyone, please be safe, protect your family members, and protect yourself. Remember, it's actually a very adult, responsible thing to do, to care about others. And what I've told people, when we went out to pick up the RV, the people out in the country, thank goodness the gentleman was wearing a mask, and we were wearing our face coverings. And I told him, I said, I'm not necessarily worried about you. We're here to protect you because we come from a county where the rate is maybe higher to catch it. And he, like, I think it's the first time anyone ever he thought we were just crazy people from the big city, you know? And, but I want to thank them for doing that. And everyone, please be safe. I'm going to cut my hair after this show, so you'll see it on Wednesday, and we will be going camping. So if you're on Zoom, stay on. We're going to disconnect us on Facebook Live. And then we're going to do a quick promo on Zoom. So please stay on. And everyone, let's wave to our audience from Facebook Live. Bye-bye.